Hello everyone. So here, glad to meet you all again on our YouTube page with this video, next video. I'm Dr. Ekta Sethi and I'm here to discuss a little about sociology optional, and in each of these videos we are taking a new sub-theme, a new topic, and discussing that. So in this very video, the idea is to discuss and to bring forth in sociology a very important stream, a very important subtopic, especially for for sociology optional, and that is non-positivism. So we will discuss what non-positivism is, what all does it entail, the different characteristics. We'll be doing all of this. In our past videos, I've shared certain ideas, certain information on positivism. So now, moving in the line, we are moving towards non-positivism. So you can find the other videos also there, like the videos on non-positivism, on positivism, and the emergence of sociology, and the relationship of sociology with different social sciences. All of those are there. Okay, I think this is visible. So now we'll talk about non-positivism. Now, first and foremost, we've already discussed positivism in a bit. So we know that there are these streams of thought, there are these approaches in sociology like positivism and non-positivism, how they look at sociology, how they deal with sociological issues, with sociological problems are markedly different. Okay, so till now we did about what we did was involving positivism. So we saw that positivism as a method is something close to science. We saw that we they try and they bring out theories. They wish to universalize theories. They wish to they involve a deductive approach. They involve several other factors, and they make sure that they align themselves with science. Non-positivism, as the name suggests, it is something which is in stark opposite to positivism. Okay, so whatever you feel exists in positivism, there will be the opposite of this in non-positivism. So directly before coming to these slides in front of you, let's first discuss about positivism and non-positivism in short. Okay, this is very easy because you know a little about positivism. In the last video we discussed it. We discussed that positivism has been, for positivists, the focus has been on empiricism, right? And empiricism is basically external. It is the externally verifiable reality, right? So definitely non-positivism would deal with the internal. So it deals with a gamut of emotions, feelings, beliefs, motives, all that which positivism is not taking into account do fall in the bracket of non-positivism. So it is looking at the internal aspects of for research. Then in terms of positivism, as I was just saying, we have seen that the stress is on theory, right? That you have to build theories. While in case of non-positivism, the stress is on understanding phenomena, on understanding phenomena. It is not necessary that you build theories. They do not say that you have to theorize. So that's a big difference between the two. Now, when you are making theories, they wish these theories to be universally applicable. So they believe in universality. They believe in these theories to be universally applicable. Here, that is not the case. They are dealing with individual phenomena. They are dealing with individual phenomena. Okay, so they do not believe in universality. Then, of course, the approach here is deductive, while the approach of non-positivists would be inductive. What deductive and inductive approaches are respectively, that is an altogether different topic, and we will be taking up in the later videos. As of now, we know that in deductive approach you are deducing the data, while in inductive approach you are again dealing with individual cases. Okay, so there's a difference. Now in case of positivism, the data is quantitative, right? You are dealing with quantitative data. अगर पॉजिटिविज्म में क्वांटिटेटिव डेटा है तो ऑटोमेटिकली नॉन पॉजिटिविज्म में क्या आएगा, नॉन पॉजिटिविज्म में क्वालिटेटिव डेटा आएगा. ओके, बिकॉज क्वांटिटेटिव है, बिकॉज डिडक्टिव है, बिकॉज दे बिलीव इन थियोराइजिंग, सो इट इज अ साइंटिफिक वे of dealing with problems, scientific way of studying society. On the other hand, non-positivism will become a humanistic way. Okay, so you are dealing with the society, you are looking at the sociological problems in a humanistic fashion. Now, in case of positivism, because it is scientific, because it is dealing with quantitative data, because you are doing deductive approach, because you believe in theorizing, so automatically there will be prediction and testability. There's a predictability, there's a testability. Don't worry, we will be coming to all these points again once we move on with the slides. So there will be predictability, there will be testability in case of positivism. Both these things are not present in case of non-positivism. Both these things are not present in case of non-positivism. So then positivism is objective. With all these things, we can say that positivism is about objectivity and non-positivism is about subjectivity. Right? Non-positivism would be about subjectivity. Positivism is going to be society-centric. Positivism is about society-centric, while non-positivism will be individual-centric. Okay? Non-positivism will be individual-centric. Then so individual, yes. So positivism is going to be society centric, while individual non-positivist approach is individual centric. So in short, positivism ke liye we can say that it is all about objective study of subjective reality. So of objective reality. So you are studying something external, you are approaching through the objective methods, and you are studying objective reality. On the other hand, non-positivism is about subjective study of subjective reality. Okay, so both the things are totally different. In case of positivism, there is objective study of objective reality. In case of non-positivism, there is subjective study of subjective reality. So with this, I think we have a clear picture of the stark differences between the two. So there are very clear differences. Again, we'll go through it very quickly. In case of positivism, we know it deals with the external, it deals with it's empirical. In case of non-positivism, it is internal, it is dealing with emotions, with feelings. In case of positivism, they believe in theorizing, they believe in theory making. In case of non-positivism, they are more interested in understanding phenomena. Positivism is about universality, non-positivism is dealing with individual things. So we have a deductive approach here, we have an inductive approach here. It is more about a quantitative, it is more about a quantitative data, because quantitative data is external, it is verifiable. Non-positivism automatically will deal with the qualitative data. So because of all these factors, positivism becomes scientific. It becomes scientific, and non-positivism on the other hand, because it is dealing with internal emotions, it becomes humanistic. Now there is predictability and testability here. These things are not there in case of non-positivism. So in short, we can say that positivism will be objective study of objective reality, while non-positivism is going to be subjective study of subjective reality. I think more or less this should be clear to all of us. So as soon as you have a question on say discuss the postulates of positivism and non-positivism, these things have to be clear in your head. Okay, these things, these pointers should be clear in your head because they are important. These key words are very important, that what is universality, this is about individual, deductive, inductive, quantitative, qualitative, scientific, humanistic, predictability, testability, objectivity, subjectivity. These words are very important and you must mention them when you are writing your answers. These make your answers look like that you have really read. Okay, so please don't miss out on these things. Now, to carry forward, uh, in case of non-positivism, gradually it was not like instantly from positivism we shift to non-positivism. Okay, so there are people like Weber in between who are bridging the gap between the two. There are people like Weber who are bridging the gap. They believe in interpretive understanding of society. Okay, so they are in a way, what, how do we understand Weber's approach then? Weber in that case becomes someone who's studying society in an objective manner, but because he's studying society, his study is subjective. Okay, so he is doing subjective reality in an objective manner. Why? Because we haven't done a series on Weber now, but I would soon take it up. So when we do a series on Weber, we will see that Weber believes in what we call cause and effect relationship. Okay, and cause and effect relationship is a part of science. Okay, it is a part of science. They say that if there's a certain result, if certain thing has happened today, there is a cause for it. Okay, so according to Weber, every social action that a human does, every social action has a cause. There is a certain kind of cause which leads to a certain kind of social action. So he manages to build a cause and effect relationship. So there is a kind of objectivity in case of Weber. Even though, again, even though he's studying society, even though he's studying the external factors, okay? So in that case, he becomes someone who is somewhere between positivism and non-positivism. So he's someone who is studying subjective reality in an objective manner. Also, he was an early non-positivist. Okay, so he has been there from the beginning, so he's quite an early non-positivist. Now the later thinkers, the later positivists who came, they completely shunned this idea. They completely said that no, we have nothing to do with science, we have nothing to do with objectivity, we are not going to follow the cause and effect relationships. And so came several other thinkers, several other streams of thought in non-positivism, which we will be doing now. So you have something like phenomenology, you have something like ethnomethodology, all these things. You have something like symbolic interactionism. All these are parts of non-positivism. So we will go to all of these one by one. So before directly going on to them, let's read a little of this that we have seen that man is an independent thinking being who can influence society. And what you are doing is you are trying to understand, you are trying to gauge what is going on inside the man, so inside their mind. So you are dealing with the internal. So we know that gradually there was an alternative school of thoughts which came in, and ideas. So according to Hegel, ideas were important. Okay, it is ideas that lead to changes, that leads to history. So if some idea has been implanted today in my head, that is why maybe tomorrow something will emerge, right? So for example, today if you are seeing a business empire, somebody has a huge business empire. Years back, the forefathers, they must have gotten some idea. That's how they began. So according to Hegel, according to these people, ideas are really important. These ideas which are generated in the minds of individuals are actually responsible for history. So what non-positivism was doing up till now was that it was overlooking these ideas, right? It did not take into account these ideas. So according to people like Hegel, this is a big problem because you cannot overlook them. They are the driving force in context of history. Non-positivists will take ideas into account. So then you have scholars like Dilthey. By Dilthey, I mean William Dilthey. You have people like Rickard. They highlighted the difference between natural and social world. Social world is based upon the uniqueness of human society in terms of meanings, symbols, motives. Remember these words, guys. Meanings, symbols, motives, because we will come to these words again when we are actually doing the approaches in detail. When you are doing phenomenology, when you are doing ethnomethodology, you are doing these words in detail. So we will be understanding meaning, we will be understanding motives, symbols, interaction. You will keep coming across these terms time and again. Now this tradition was carried on. There was an alternative view to positivism which came. They strongly emerged, they contained a variety of thoughts and was collectively known as the non-positivist methodology. So this was the non-positivist methodology in the broad sense of the term. So in the broad sense of the term, we know that what non-positivism was, it was in stark opposite to positivism. It was completely whatever positivists were saying. If positivists were saying east, non-positivists were saying west. So they were completely in contrast. So we've seen that. And now we come to the strands of non-positivism, okay? Now, basic concepts within non-positivism, which will be taken up. So we know that I've talked about Weber in brief, that how Weber was one of the pioneers of non-positivists, and that's why somewhere Weber has also been seen as a bridge between the non-positivists and positivists. So then, of course, you have scholars like G.H. Mead, you have Herbert Blumer, you have Alfred Stutz. All of them were there with their own approaches of non-positivism. So Weber, in fact, laid the foundation of interpretativist methodology. It's a very important methodology, and you don't have to worry about the heavy-duty words. It is basically what it is basically understanding. Interpretative under methodology, it's mentioned here. All of these were what? These were contributions of Weber, and they literally meant, Verstehen literally means understanding. Okay, the literal meaning is this, that again the focus is on understanding, the focus is on interpretation. So that is how it works. So G.H. Mead was another important thinker in case of non-positivism. I haven't mentioned him up till now because G.H. Mead again will be taken up in detail as a subtopic also, because अगर आप अपना UPSC sociology optional का course देखते हैं तो in your paper 1 you have G.H. Mead as a complete subheading, as a subtopic. So G.H. Mead will be taken as a series, as well as that G.H. Mead will come in here also. So when we are doing non-positivism, we will be doing symbolic interactionism, and in symbolic interactionism you will see the presence of G.H. Mead. But of course यहाँ पे वो brief होगा, the detailed part will be taken up in the series on G.H. Mead. Okay. Then of course there are, I already told you that there are people like Alfred Stutz. Alfred Stutz's strand of thought is called Phenomenology. Then Ethnomethodology was by Harold Garfinkel. Like these are the people who formalized these approaches. These approaches must have existed earlier also, but they formalized it. Okay. So we'll take these one by one, but before that, let's see. We've talked about Weber a little. We know that Weber deviated from positivism in context of subject matter because he was looking at the individual. He was looking at the internal. He was looking at the internal aspects. He was looking at the societal aspect. So his approach can be understood as a micro approach, while positivism as an approach is macro approach, right? Because you are theorizing. You're believing in the universality of law, of these theories, right? So definitely positivism means macro. In case of Weber, again, I told you already that you are studying social action and you are studying the meaning attached to the action by the actor, okay? So you are doing a cause and effect relationship. So this is an objective way of studying. So in short, it's an objective study to understand subjective reality. That is how you can understand Weber as a bridge between positivism and non-positivism. Again, Weber, G.H. Mead, both these are thinkers जिनकी individual series भी आएंगी videos की, because they are important topics for UPSC optional. All these things in detail would be taken up in the course which has begun. It has begun from 15th April. We've had our first class only as of now. So if anybody wants to, right now is the time when you can join the classes, and the classes, the links and everything will be shared in the comment section. Okay. So I told you that we will take a bit of G.H. Mead in the video here. Now before coming to G.H. Mead directly, let's talk about G.H. Mead a little here. So we know that G.H. Mead, his work is Mind, Self and Society. This is his book, a very important contribution again. And basically G.H. Mead's disciple, G.H. Mead's student was Herbert Blumer. Okay. And जो G.H. Mead के lecture notes थे, जो उनके notes थे, whatever he taught, it was Blumer who had put it all together, and he formalized it with the name symbolic interactionism. So Blumer's work of symbolic interactionism draws from Mead because he was a student of Mead and he had compiled the notes of Mead. So according to Mead, human behavior is governed by the internal processes by which people interpret the world around them and give meaning to their own life. Okay, so you are interpreting the world around yourself. You are you're processing the internal. You are giving meaning to your own life. So again, interpretation, meaning, all these things become important. These are built, reinforced, and modified in the process of interaction with members in society. Now, the process of interaction happens through symbols. So I told you that remember these words, meaning, symbols, action, interaction. All these will keep coming again and again, especially in context of non-positivism, because that is what they talk about. That is how they understand society. So according to them, we as human beings are giving meaning to our own life. So we are thinking beings, we are unique beings, we are not passive, right? So according to symbolic interactionism, especially according to Mead, human beings are not passive. Okay, they are continuously reinforcing, they're modifying, interaction is happening, and all this is also happening through symbols. So this becomes an important aspect of Mead and his idea of non-positivism, which we will take up soon when we do symbolic interactionism. Now here, in case of this, let's see, we saw that we'll be doing these approaches here. So all these are part of your interpretive approaches. We know that this was pioneered by Max Weber in Methods of Social Sciences. The aim was to interpret the meanings attached by individuals to their actions in order, thereby an explanation of cause and effect. So he believed in the explanation of cause and effect to interpret the meanings attached by the individual. So you are continuously, individuals are trying to interpret the meanings that they are attaching to social action. The basis of this approach is that individual is having a voluntary will, and his thoughts cannot be understood simply in terms of external influence. Now this is important. This is important to understand. This is the basic crux wherein you are saying that individuals have a voluntary will. There is a voluntary will, and the thoughts cannot be understood only by the external influence. Okay, so that is why Weber, in fact, moved away from from positivists, because positivists were only looking at the external, only what was externally verifiable. And according to Weber, the individuals, because of their voluntary will, you have to understand how are they interpreting, what are they thinking, that has to be taken into account. There is a consciousness which has to be taken into account. Reality is being constructed by people regularly. The goal is to understand meaning behind actions in a social context through actor's viewpoint. The viewpoint of the actor is important. We know these are the methods that he has employed, that Weber has employed, and we will be doing these methods in detail when we talk about Max Weber himself. Okay, now let's begin with, first and foremost, with the idea of phenomenology a little bit. Okay, so I'll give you a little idea about phenomenology in this one. Then we'll continue with non-positivism in the later videos. As far as phenomenological approach is concerned, they believe in the subject matter of the social and the natural sciences to being completely different. Okay, so according to phenomenologists, you cannot take from natural sciences. Sociology as a discipline cannot take from natural sciences. As a result, the methods and the assumption of the natural sciences are inappropriate to the study of man. Now, because the subject matter itself is different, because what you are studying itself is different, how can you use the same approaches? The approaches also have to be apart. The natural sciences deal with matter which can be observed from the outside. This matter reacts unconsciously to the external stimuli. One can observe and measure this behavior. There is no need to explore the internal logic of consciousness. Now, this is the context of science, right? This is the context of science, that you are dealing with the outside. You can observe the outside, you can measure the outside, and you don't need to take into account the internal logic of consciousness. Humans on the other hand, when we are talking about sociology, humans on the other hand, they have consciousness. What does that mean? They have thoughts, they have feelings, meanings, intentions. They are aware of their being. Okay, there is a meaning attached to action. They do not merely react to external stimuli, they are acting. So you are not only reacting, that could be a reflex actions. Okay, there could be certain reactions, but in most of the situations you are thinking and acting. You're acting, you're not just reacting. Sociologists must study those meanings to understand action. So this has to be studied by a sociologist to understand action. Interpretation of the internal logic is necessary. How do you interpret the internal logic? That becomes important. Again, humans do not react to external society. They create their own meanings and construct their own reality. So this is the emphasis again in terms of non-positivist idea. Now, if we have to look at these questions, now, we haven't covered all of them as of now in this video. I will be taking this up again in the next video. This is only a part of it. Is non-positivist methodology scientific? Now, this, for example, is something that you can attempt as of now. Is non-positivistic methodology scientific? A very clear answer would be no. What is science? Because science is trying to develop an objective study of objective reality. So non-positivist, on the other hand, is subjective study of subjective reality. So in clear-cut word, the answer is no. Now you always have to take into account what word, how the question is framed. Now here it is illustrate. Okay, so whatever stand you are taking, like in this case, you will be taking no, but you have to substantiate that answer properly. So how will you go about it? If it's a big question, if it's a 20 marker, you would explain a little bit about scientific approach. First, you will explain a little bit about scientific approach because you have to explain what you mean by scientific. Okay. Then you will explain non-positivistic approach. Okay. Then you will explain non-positivistic approach. Then you will share the differences between the two, differences or the relationship between the two, and you will see, we will talk about the differences which we talked about in the very first slide. Okay, we'll talk about those differences here. Yeah, so you'll talk about all these things. Okay, so you first mentioned that what do you mean by scientific, then you are telling what do you mean by non-positivistic, and then you are explaining the relationship between the two, and then you are substantiating your answer, explaining that no, you do not think that non-positivist methodology is highly scientific. In this, again, you will mention a line or two about Weber and his idea of cause and effect, that though in case of non-positivism, there have been thinkers like Max Weber who tried to build a cause and effect relationship in case of understanding social action. Okay, but the later positivists did not continue this tradition and assume that non-positivistic methodology has to be completely different from science. Okay, but you're mentioning of Weber, you're mentioning of cause and effect, and for social action, what it does is basically for examiner, it shows that you have read, you know about this matter, you have understood these approaches. Okay, so that's why this is something which is an extra bit, which if you include somehow, it will help in beautifying your answer. Okay, like how do you get your answers apart? Now the second question, ethnomethodological phenomenological perspective. Now we haven't done ethnomethodology as of now, so we will not be able to attempt this question. I'll take it up later in some other video. And of course we are going to take all of these in detail in classes. देखिए वीडियो में हम इतना ही बता सकते हैं, इतना ही समझा सकते हैं. It is in these classes wherein all these approaches, all the subtopics, all the topics are being covered in detail. Then elaborate the main tenets of interpretative perspective in sociology. So of course, you will first explain what you mean by interpretative perspective. You will explain that it includes all these different approaches, and then you will explain about them. Non-positivistic methodology is essential for understanding human behavior. Now, this is something which you can attempt as of now. Of course, once you do the other perspectives, you will be in a better position to attempt it. But even for now, you can always mention that how non-positivist methodology, because it deals with humans, because it is dealing with society, because it is dealing with the internal, it is dealing with emotions, it is dealing with motives, it is dealing with beliefs, it is dealing with all these things which make the human society. So in that context, non-positivistic methodology definitely becomes essential for understanding human behavior. Also, you can mention, you should write, is that up till non-positivist methodology, what was prevalent was positivism, right? And positivism only dealt with the external, and that's why their understanding was limited. What positivism did was it had a limited understanding. Limited understanding because it was only talking about the external. So the idea is that non-positivism took this took this understanding beyond, okay, because they started dealing with the internal. So that's basically about non-positivism in brief. Just to give you a start, in the next video, in the forthcoming videos, we will talk about non-positivism and the different strands in detail. So as of now, I'll stop here, and the link to the course will also be posted soon. It's there on the website. It's already there on the website. So please go check it out. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.